Hey YouTube, Awesome Rider here. Welcome to my review for BoonBoomger episode 46, and the finale arc and the race to revive Boondario continues. So last week we got information, thanks to Joe, that the disco ball can revive him, because disco is the key to life. And, you know, Taya then conveniently remembers, like, oh yeah, disco ball crashed with him when he arrived, but it's in the base. So you got Gemba breaking into the base while Joe and Sakito are outside. You get a brief little civilian fight between Gemba and Chashiro, which was kind of cool to see, you know, very spy feeling. Honestly, I'm surprised in a way that both Boondario's death has lasted this long. I mean, it's only been a few episodes, as well as Chashiro's portrayal, just because a lot of times Sentai will wrap this stuff up quick. There's part of me that's kind of hoping Chashiro actually is on their side. Like, we know that by the final episode, they're all going to be together again. They got to get that final team-up shot of them posing together, maybe a helmetless shot, we don't know, but that always happens in the finale. But it would almost be kind of refreshing if they explained a reason that he actually did believe what he was selling right now, and they have to bring him back. But I'm kind of surprised they let that continue, just because he's almost not even been in the episodes a lot these last 2-3. He's appeared for maybe a scene, which is interesting. Sakito and Joe outside fighting the ISA. In a way, I was almost surprised they fully fought him, just because so often when civilians are under a spell, I mean, they're not civilians, they're ISA, but you know what I mean. Like when people are forced to do something either via spell or they're misinformed, sometimes you'll get that goody two-shoes like, we can't hurt him. Nope, but they go all in. It did seem like Joe was playing a little more defensively, where Sakito was just going all in, practically jumping in the air, punching people. It just, for whatever reason, brought me back to that funny scene in Zenkaiger when they had that classic trope of, you can't hurt the civilians, and the two Kaiser did not give a single F and was just punching civilians left and right. It was just funny. And honestly, it led to one of my more favorite Joe moments. He was still doing the most in terms of his performance, but him saying that he's going to quit the force because he's upset about this corruption that's happening, and he's going to do good no matter what, and he doesn't need a badge for it. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but you know what I mean. I thought it was a good moment. One of the few moments I believed in Joe. Of course, everything badass he was doing was undercut by the overalls he's still wearing, but still, it was a really nice moment and I enjoyed that. They do wind up getting the disco ball, and it doesn't seem to work yet, and they don't know why. I'm not sure what's going to come about with that. We know Boondario has to be revived because he has to be killed off again in Gojuger. We just saw it. It's like when they brought Gallifrey back just so they could kill it off again in Timeless Child. So we know he has to come back just so he can die again. Like, also, there's no way they're gonna leave him dead, but it was a surprising roadblock, and again, surprised how long they're continuing this. What, there's 2 episodes left? With how long they're dragging this out, I almost wonder if they're gonna wait till the very last episode to revive him. You also had a focus on Team Rocket, who is kind of like contemplating their place in the organization after they realized how disposable they are, only for them to get gassed up, no pun intended, by the boss's right hand, by Spinder's right hand, whose name I'm forgetting at the moment, as per usual. And he's kind of like, oh, you guys have done so good. We have a fleet of Yarukars going, but you're a special Yarukar that was, you know, modified by that guy at the beginning, Cannonborg, there we go, White Blaster Cannonborg. So they turn him actually into a full-fledged monster, and he's having fun for that in a while until he starts overheating. It was actually kind of cool to see him get a monster form and be like, what if Meowth evolved into Persian? That would never happen. Also, they're not on the show anymore. I don't think they made cameos in Horizons as far as I know. I only watched the dub, so I'm pretty far behind. I'm far behind as it is. This isn't about me. Anyway, so when he starts overheating, it's actually Gemba and Joe that save him by using some clever fight techniques, where kind of like that episode, it was very early on, where they like trapped a monster by building him in. Like they use kind of these things where they're like dismantling pieces of him. I thought it was really fun. It's a broken record I say every week. Love the fight scenes in this series. This one wasn't necessarily as flashy, but it definitely had that signature BoonBoomger flair. But it was just clever, and it kind of gave him a moment where Team Rocket's like, we owe you one, and they pay it back when some of the other Yarukars arrive, and then they transform into the exact monster form that he had, which is just funny, because it's like so clear, like, yeah, we're not going to waste this suit, we're using it again, like, we're not going to do a recolor. And they're like, oh no, who's going to use the Megazord? And my first thought was like, you still have Boondi, because they're like, what are we going to do? And then I remembered they basically had this scene at the very beginning to explain this, where Boondi's effectively doing their version of a blood transfusion or whatever, like he's giving him energy, Boondario energy, while they're waiting to figure out why the hell Disco's not working. So that does explain that. I will say though, amongst these handful of episodes, I'm kind of surprised they haven't used Boondario being out of commission as an excuse to have Boondi go out there and show off more of the Zord Builder stuff, because he's kind of been the vehicle for that. Again, no pun intended. The reason for sidelining him and making sure we knew why he couldn't show up was because it was actually Team Rocket that came to the rescue in the Killer Robo, which I thought was really cool. I honestly Honestly, I really like the Killer Robo. It's one of my more favorite unique repaints, and I like how prominent it's been in the series, and I like that it wasn't just a one and done or a thing Team Rocket uses occasionally. Like, they'll use it, other villains have used it, and now there's like fleets of it guarding in addition to the ISA as the BoonBoonger's reputation is continued to be ruined. But yeah, they actually are the ones that take out the monster, and they did like a blasting off again thing where I believe their fate was left up in the air. Don't think they're killing them off though. Especially after this episode, they're gonna get a Jindrax and Toxica ending, but probably better, where they're kind of friends with him. In fact, like when the BoonBoongers come back for crossovers, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys came back as allies. Honestly, more like some of the characters in Kyoryuger that kind of became friends at the end. This is the end, friend. Also, real quick before I get to the ending scene, thinking about the BoonBoonger's public perception being tarnished even further this week, there was a really nice scene where we had the inspector calling in and she says, like, you know, I'm with you guys, I'm a BoonBoonger. I thought that was a nice little scene. But the end happens where they're like, maybe we're going about this wrong. Instead of using force, let's use diplomacy. And their version of diplomacy is proposing a marriage between Spinder and Mira, which I did not see coming at all. Very Sentai thing, will be really interesting. But yeah, continue to enjoy the finale arc. This was a very solid episode. Continuing that, don't have a whole lot else left to say. Let me know what you guys think of the episode in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.